Including this card, you have 2 in hand.
Correct.
Yes.
Giovanni giving a read of this. This is what we were commenting on earlier. There is a ton of different Cyber Dragon cards, and this is one that you may not have as much familiarity with.
So if you special or equip, it locks you into machine monsters.
Anything on resolution?
Yep, Cyber Yorgamander. It's out of Alliance Insight.
Nothing on resolution.
Okay.
So it does look like it resolves and it's able to add to the hand. It's a monster that can do a lot. It's going to be able to come from the hand to the field or equip itself to a Cyber Dragon. Let's see what he decides to do with it.
The special summon and then special or equip.
Correct.
In chain, I will activate Holy Sue.
Oh, and here we see the first activation of Holy Sue.
Yep, Holy Sue is going to be able to reveal a monster hand as we special summon from the hand as a quick effect. So it looks like he's choosing to equip a Cyber Dragon card to the Yorgamander. Or is he going to equip the Yorgamander to the Cyber Dragon?
Attention, Yu-Gi-Oh! Duelists.
He's not going. He's just going to summon it, not use it as a equip card. Makes a lot of sense.
Anything in the open game stage?
In open game
So one of the
state,
things
I will
just about
activate
Vanquish Souls in general, and this is the case certainly when you're playing into this, trying to keep track of what attributes that you know your opponent has. We saw both that Raisin and Mad Lab either be searched or returned back to the hand over the course of the last turn. So we knew this Holly Sue had the ability to reveal an Earth and a Dark, sorry, a Fire and a Dark Raisin, and Mad Lab to special summon a non-psychic, meaning basically anything but itself, from the deck. And now he's able to put the copy of Raisin on the field, which now allows him to search Caesar.
And more importantly, lining up. But smart stuff here. You can see Jermaine knows the Vanquish Soul strategy a little well because he summoned that Cyber Dragon underneath that Nightmare Cerebus. So he's at least putting Giovanni in a position where he's going to have to destroy his own card. But to his own advantage, because he doesn't want that Nightmare Cerebus there anyway.
Yeah, it's kind of an interesting quirk here that Cerebus may have been kind of interfering with his own plays. But yeah, that is very insightful, Billy. If you're playing against this strategy, you definitely want to be wary that Raisin gets to destroy within the column. But that's why you want to summon basically underneath the extra monster zone that the Rock the Vanquisher would typically be located. Obviously here we had Nightmare Cerebus. Yeah, it's kind of an interesting That's something that's very insightful. The zones do in fact matter against Vanquish Souls. But that's enough there, I think, for Jermaine to pack it up there in the first game.
Yeah, he needed
Giovanni takes the first.
Yeah, Jermaine really needed to stick 2 monsters on the field there to be able to get going, but it was just too little, too late. Neither player really drew the opening hand they were like looking for. Nothing ideal. I mean, definitely unfortunate for Jermaine to have a couple of Mulcharmies, but Giovanni not really having any way to get going from the beginning was tough. And what it really came down to also was that Ash Blossom from Giovanni on that Cyber Dragon core really slowed Jermaine down a lot.
The other thing is Salesman is fantastic if the rest of your turn goes well.
Right.
Because then you don't really mind inherently playing a card that doesn't replace itself. But if you get stymied along the way, that's one less card, one less resource that you would have either had as an extender or an interruption. And as we saw in those games, having multiple copies of Salesman really reduced his card economy. In many ways, what people would refer to as just the amount of cards that he has access to. So when that next card, that Cyber Emergency was stopped by Ash Blossom, he just simply didn't have enough resources beyond that to continue.
Definitely, yeah, it's tough. I mean, when you're playing with so many cards in your deck, it's harder to draw. Like, sometimes you're not going to see those key cards that you need to have access to. Like, if he just drew 1 copy, like forced out that Ash Blossom, and then was able to use the 1 copy of like RB Stage Landing to just literally let you summon a Link 3 monster from your extra deck straight up into your extra monster zone, it would be really, really good. But he just didn't have access to that other portion of his deck. Only having the Cyber Dragon cards, Giovanni's Vanquish Soul monsters were easily able to take care of that. But yeah, hopefully in Game 2 we get to see some of the RB cards, because that's where this deck really shines. They're really cool. I just like the idea of having your own like mecha robot out there fighting, and you're like interchanging the parts and utilizing those parts to either destroy cards on the field, negate a spell or trap effect.
Look at that necklace.
Oh, he has a Cyber Dragon chain on. I didn't realize that was another. We talk. There's a lot of Cyber Dragon. He has a Cyber Dragon chain right there around the neck. I mean, I told you, if there is a dedicated Cyber Dragon duelist out there, it is Jermaine. He's come up to me event after event. You know, I'm doing good. I'm at day 2. You know, he's trying to get in there, and now he started off 2-0 at this tournament. Tough game 1, but he's not out of it just yet. I mean, for Giovanni, you know, he has to maybe a little worry. He's playing against probably an unexpected strategy going into this event. You definitely, in your preparation, you want to play against all the top decks, the things you think you're going to see. But then when you encounter something brand new, like the RB strategy alongside Cyber Dragons, it could throw you off.
I mean, he dodged that Perulia in the first game. You know, that's the absolute worst card for you to see, Perulia.
Yeah,
You know,
definitely.
often for a lot of decks, it's Fualos, but this is a deck that realistically only needs a special summon from the extra deck one time, and that's in order to go into Rock of the Vanquisher. If you are Perulia, though, it really shuts down so much of that first turn ability. So the fact that he was able to survive a game where he had basically no starters, it was Perulian, passed to a deck that's in many ways probably an unknown to him. There's, you know, probably
It could just be over.
it could just be over. I mean, that's just the recipe
Yeah.
for how you would lose to this particular game.
Yeah, I wish we knew what he called a salesman. Had he like salesman, Ash Blossom, and Joyous Spring, maybe that turn would have ended out to be a little differently.
I feel like the cards, and this again, we didn't exactly hear, but the cards that I could imagine him calling are Nibiru and Droll and Lockbird.
Maybe even Infinite Impermanence, but
That card's not even being played in every deck right
yeah,
now.
that's true. That's true.
I feel like Droll is, and Nibiru really isn't even being played, at least as a 3-of, as I commented on earlier this
Yeah.
weekend. Sometimes it's just that 1-of in order to be
Again,
searched
we
up
didn't
granite,
exactly
and
hear.
you're not going to sales ban a 1-of.
Certainly not. But now the duelists have shuffled up side deck, and
Yes.
it's time to see if Jermaine will be going first or if he's going to let his opponent go first here in game number 2, round 3 of the NAWCQ.
Another just important thing to note is when you play against Vanquished Souls, you should use that as information for potentially some of the cards they may choose to side, because that deck needs to leverage just those 3 attributes in order for it to function as well as it would like, which means cards like, you know, DD Crow, Nibiru, they don't line up well into just what that deck is inherently trying to do, so you might not anticipate those cards being in the deck.
Okay, so I heard it this time. I made sure to listen. Droll and Lockbird.
Droll and Lockbird,
So
okay.
that's probably what he called on the previous game as well. He's going for the high impact disruptions from the hand. And now he's going to discard the Cyber Dark Chimera. Is it the Cyber Dark Claw? I think that's Claw, but it's able to add a Cyber Dark card from the deck to the hand. Very good Cyber Dark.
That is indeed Claw. I don't think he has Droll and Lockbird in his hand, though. It looks like there might be maybe a Phantasma in there.
Cyber Dark Realm.
All right, he's going to add Cyber Dark Realm from the deck to the hand.
Looks like there is a Holisu in his hand, though, which he can summon on this turn if he has the proper attributes to go along with it. That Earth and Dark to take control of a monster, and maybe potentially that Fire or Dark initially.
Yep, so the Cyber Dark Realm is going to continue his plays to be able to access another Cyber Dark monster with a different name from the one in his graveyard. And it also gives him an extra normal summon for Cyber Dark monsters.
What language is it?
It's Italian.
Italian?
Yeah.
Do you mind if I look at the card?
Polynesian.
Yeah.
So he's getting the translation for the card, I think, but when he found out it's Italian, Giovanni might be able to read a little bit of Italian.
I
You
respect
might know a little bit about that, G. Orlando.
Yeah, just a little bit. Not fluent, don't even pretend, but
But it looks like he's at least going to attempt to read it in Italian. I can't. I've done the same thing with French cards, where I'm like, oh, I can read it. And I'm like, maybe I should just read the English one just in case.
maybe a lot of viewers at home can relate to this, but let's just say I picked up on some very particular Italian words growing up at those large family gatherings for the holidays.
That's awesome. Yeah.
And then if you equip, you're going to equip from the opponent's. Okay, yeah. So it's Cyber Dark from the opponent's grave, whatever.
Anything for resolution?
No, you're good.
Okay.
So he does ask for resolution on summon, though. Of course, as we know, Droll and Lockbird has been banned for this particular turn.
All right, let's see what Cyber Dark he's going to go for. Maybe Cyber Dark Worm could be the case here. Looks like it's Cyber Dark Chimera, though.
Additional normal summon of the Cyber Dark monster.
Yes.
So he's going to use his extra normal summon here on Cyber Dark Chimera. Cyber Dark Chimera can discard a spell or trap to add a power bond from your deck to your hand.
Which we know is included in this Cyber Dark deck, or the Cyber Dragon Cyber Dark variant.
This is an activated effect.
And for the rest of the turn, he'll be able to fusion summon using monsters from his graveyard and be able to banish it, kind of similar to the Lunalight Masquerade.
Once I get the translation, I'll have a potential response. Yeah.
Looks like all of his cards might be in Italian.
I like his style.
And for the turn, you can
Sorry, thanks to
only
things
use
like
the
Yu-Gi-Oh!
Machine
Neuron,
or
it's
Dragon,
really easy to look up cards and read
and
their
then banish
text.
from the graveyard material.
And I wish
So
I
if
had
you
that when
activate the
I
effects, you
was a
get
much more
the rest of
active
it.
player.
Smartphones
I do have
changed
a-
everything.
I
I
know.
remember dueling
I will
pre-smartphone,
activate
yeah. But it looks like this is going to finally prompt the response, and we're going to see Vanquish Soul
reveal
Holly Sue be activated. Reveal another Vanquish Soul monster, special summon it
Anything in
from
the
the
open game
hand.
So this is a relatively low
I would use
percentage
Horsey
thing that
effect,
can happen,
dueling,
but it is something you need to be aware of.
raising
For this to
the mana,
happen,
special
you're going to
effect.
need your opponent to have the Holly Sue, so have it
response.
naturally
No
drawn it.
response.
for this to be an interaction, they either already need an Earth and Dark monster, which again, it's a deck filled with Earth and Dark monsters, or alternatively have a Fire and Dark monster so that they can summon the Raisin, which we see here, which can usually then add the Earth monster that you need because you would have already needed a Dark monster in order to summon it in the first place.
There is an Earth monster he's adding it, just as you said.
An open game state.
So now he's going to, in this open game state, reveal an Earth and a Dark monster and take control of the Chimera.
Okay.
And it even puts, he's using the Rosin
he's using
effect
the
to
Rosin,
destroy
okay,
the
yeah,
column.
yeah.
But it even puts the Caesar Valleys in the hand to also be summoned for another disruption on Jermaine's first turn.
Yep.
Jermaine and Giovanni, they both have very similar names, so I'm trying to like stay focused on them, not say their names together.
Don't throw
Lots
my
of
last name
J's.
into that sentence.
It's almost like a J. J Orlando?
Yeah.
Close. But here's the Cyber Dark Worm. So now that the Chimera went to the graveyard, it lets him add a Cyber Dark of a different name as well. So we're getting the Cyber Dark flow will continue. Cyber Dark Worm, kind of similar to a Mathmech Circular, where you're able to special summon it from your hand by sending something to the graveyard. Well, it just sends it to the graveyard, it looks like. But then you get to add a card back from your graveyard.
Yeah, Mathmech Circular is a fan favorite.
Yeah, especially that kind of effect has become like notorious with a lot of Yu-Gi-Oh cards for a lot of different themes.
We had that conversation yesterday about like the original one gets to just be like Stratos now. That term, that name is now just used throughout all of Yu-Gi-Oh history. Circular will be one of those as well.
So it can summon from the graveyard, it looks like. So he's going to be able to send the Cyber Dragon core to the graveyard to special summon it back.
His effect's only once per turn, correct?
It's only one per turn, yes.
And then he can add a Cyber Speller Trap from his graveyard to his hand if he has one in there, but I don't think he's put one in there just yet.
This is insightful also. No, he just verified that Raisin is only a once per turn effect, so he elected just to put it into that column. You know, he doesn't know if there's maybe other effects. I know there's a spell and trap destruction effect too that also matters for the column. So, but it is just important to note that you're going to put a monster in that column to double check that it's only once per turn.
Yep, and now since he has a continuous spell on the field, he's going to Link Summon for Clockwork Knight to try and use its effect there, and that's going to be met by a Fantastical Dragon Phantasme, and that's going to let him draw some cards.
I will draw 2 and shuffle 1 back.
But Jermaine will still be able to use the Clockwork Knight effect to add a card from his deck to the hand. That's going to be not the same Clockwork Knight, but the spell card Clockwork Knight.
You see him actually
Night.
thinking about putting back the there can only be one.
Okay, so I'll resolve.
Really good card in Vanquish Soul, since all the different attributes for sure. Phantasme let Giovanni dig a little deeper into the deck. We still haven't seen an RB stage landing. I'm hoping it's just waiting in the weights in the hand.
On the resolution?
Yes.
Do you have anything?
Nothing.
I will use Caesar Valleys. I will target the Holy Suit.
It might not look like it, but I just want to remind the viewers that this is Jermaine's first turn.
Vanquish Soul can play a lot if you draw the right combination of cards on your opponent's first turn, especially with Holly Sue straight out of Duelist Advance.
It should also be noted that imagine how many cards you would have drawn if Jermaine had opened. Not that this is necessarily the best thing to do, but with Perulia.
Yeah, definitely. The Perulia would have saved him here in this game.
Which is not something you usually
Going
say
first,
go first. Yeah,
yeah,
not something you normally say.
But you might as well use it. Use it or lose it pretty much when it comes to that. And if your hand, once you establish a field. But now he's going to activate the Clockwork Knight, so all monsters are going to become machine monsters on the field.
Just attack
Attack and defense.
and defense.
Yes.
That's fine.
Nothing on resolution?
Yes.
Let's see where he goes next.
Caesar Valleys?
If he just needs to get a couple monsters on the field too to be able to maybe Link Summon for the Link 2 for RB.
Or reveal.
And you can contact for Chimera tech too.
Attributes.
If he has a Cyber Dragon.
That could be something that Jermaine's looking to do.
What's the public knowledge that I noticed in your hand so far?
I revealed for Holy Sue and Raisin Fire Dart. I revealed Mad Love, Raisin, Holy Sue.
Okay.
Just the kind of courtesy of double checking what cards have been revealed for the Vanquish Soul cards.
I will.
He still has his normal summon. He only uses extra normal summon before, so now he's going to use his normal summon on Droll and Lockbird. He did Sales Band Droll and Lockbird, so he won't be able to use that for the remainder of the duel. But you can still normal summon it.
Yeah, you're not activating any effects.
2 cards in hand, correct?
That is kind of where Prohibition and Salesman differ from each other.
That is fine.
It is kind of funny to see that though. You Sales Band roll with it in your hand.
All right.
Shout out to Drollbird. It came in a couple times.
Clockwork Knight. Tribute for cost to target.
Kind of reminds me of like Christian Urena. I think he put Drollbird on his deck list last year for the points playoff instead of Droll and Lockbird. So I've seen Drollbird before. I've played these games before, and now Ghost Bell is going to stop it. Called by the grave for Ghost Bell.
The 1 out of 49.
That is fine.
So
One thing to note just about Vanquish Souls in general, if they're low on resources, every hand interaction they use, that's one of those 3 key attributes, Fire, Dark, and Earth, can actually stymie their future plays. So that's just something to note if you're ever playing against this strategy, that every time they were to use something like Ghost Spell, you should register like, okay, that's one less Earth monster they could potentially have in their hand.
All right, revealing the 3 different attributes to go after Cyber Dragon Core here with Caesar Valius and send it right back to the graveyard from which it came.
Thinking.
It's like Jermaine is slowly running out of resources somehow on his first turn. I'm just so amazed. This is really just the perfect testament to some of the high upside that the Vanquish Soul strategy has. You know, if you're one of those players that likes the idea of having hand interactions that are in-engine, in addition to just the natural hand interactions like Bestials and Ghost Bell and Ash Blossom, this might really be the strategy for you, because think about just how much Giovanni's been able to accomplish here on essentially his turn 0. You know, he hasn't even had his first draw phase yet.
It's our turn, not just your turn right now, but Jermaine, just sets it. I mean, this is heads up by Giovanni, not letting Jermaine stick a Cyber Dragon card or ever getting 2 machine monsters on the field to really progress his plays, and that's just going to stop Jermaine. He wasn't able to draw any RB cards. Like, the RB cards kind of like help the fact, like, when they're able to take your monster off the field, when you can activate something like RB Stage Landing just to special summon an RB monster like that for free, but unfortunately not.
Standby, main phase.
So he's going to take out the spell and trap card there, and now he's going into the main phase. He's going to use Raisin to reveal the Fire and Dark to destroy the Clockwork Knight.
I have this. This is
Jermaine's RB Cyber Dragon strategy might be about to be vanquished here after his life meter is depleted down to 0. Holly Sue's going to activate the effect, and it's looking like Vanquish Soul's moments away from being able to take this. But this is only going to be Jermaine's first loss, so he will be able to move on after this.
We heard earlier that he has made day 2 before, I presume, with Cyber Dragon. So,
oh, yeah, of course.
Yeah, his tournament's not over yet.
Yes.
18 from Ryzen.
All your monsters lose 500 attacking defense.
Yes, 13.
All right, so maybe it's not enough with the minus 500. It's still a lot of damage. I'm going to let them do the math.
There's also Heavy Borger on the field, so,
yeah, so
he only needs 5,000.
Yeah, it's for sure all she wrote.
24. Or 19.
That's
What's interesting, Heavy Borger actually requires that you return a non-machine. It didn't matter in this game, but all of his monsters would be machines, right? With Clockwork on the field.
Oh,
it's just an
yeah.
interaction that could have happened in this particular duel.
Because he just summoned it from his deck here with Holly Sue, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And then Burger effect, reveal Fire, Earth.
burn for 1,000.
Yep, Borger effect to burn for the last amount of damage. And the fighting game strategy, Vanquish Soul is going to take down Jermaine in his RV Cyber Dragon strategy. You see the quick fist bump in there, his friends cheering him on in the crowd. And Giovanni will be moving on 3-0 with Vanquish Soul here at the NAWCQ. But yeah, we got to see a little bit more of Jermaine's deck there in game number 2, but having the salesman in the main decks, calling like just a card that wasn't the disruption in the hand, that's rough because you're already basically starting down a card. And yeah, maybe if that Droll and Lockbird in Jermaine's hand was RB Stage Landing, we could have really seen what the deck's capable of. I'm sure he drew some of those RB cards in the first couple rounds, which is why he started off 2-0, but they just weren't there for him in this match.
Yeah, I like Salesman. I see it gaining popularity in the side deck. I just don't think this necessarily was the situation for it. And I think if you were, if you just cut those cards, kind of lowered the deck count, that would increase the
move them to the side deck.
Move them to the side deck. That might increase the odds of drawing some of those RB starter cards.
Yep.
And I think the outcome could have been a little bit different there. But on the other side of it, what we just watched out of Vanquish Souls is everything you hope for. I mean, that was literally the perfect. I have opened my Holly Sue, I have all the attributes I need. I'm using Caesar on your turn. I'm using Raisin on your turn. I'm starting my turn with all of my Vanquish Souls basically already on field, and my opponent's resources have been diminished. It's the most ideal opening turn we could have seen from that deck.
Yeah, I mean, you hit the nail on the head there. Like, really, that's what's changed. Like, before Duelist Advanced came out, Vanquish Soul was a deck. It's been popular in the past, but it hasn't been like anywhere near the top of the meta game for quite some time. But with that, a brand new Holly Sue and the field spell, and even a new rank 4 to play around with too, which we haven't seen much of yet. But the big impact is the Holly Sue, like being able to summon from your hand, special summon a monster from your deck that is a form of interruption while establishing monsters on the field, and you're getting the Rosin, which is, you know, a destruction effect in its own, and can add another Vanquish Soul to your hand. You just get so much before your turn even starts.
You know, previously, you know, you would have to use Rock to kind of select what zone you would put Razan in during the opponent's turn, but now you just have a second way to manipulate which monster zone you're using, so you can line it up whenever you need. So that's one interaction there, plus the take of your opponent's monster. So that just leads to 2 great forms of interaction on your opponent's turn.
That's right, and I think we're ready to hear from Giovanni here with his 3-0 start in the tournament, so I'm going to let our host take it away and hear from Giovanni, our winner of round 3 here at the NAWCQ.
Thank you very much. I'm live here with Giovanni. Congratulations on your feature match win. And I want to start off with Vanquish Souls, a very fun and newer deck with the addition of Holly Sue to it. One that we haven't seen yet on feature match. I'm curious your thoughts as to why you wanted to bring that to the tournament.
Originally, I was going to actually bring Punk Fiendsmith, but because I really love Rising Scale. It was a really good addition to the deck. And then I was kind of like iffy about it. My friends were like, here's the cards. They just like threw them at me. I was like, man, these cards cost me a small arm and a leg. And then I was like, I was going to troll them, and I was going to bring Rescue Ace Fiendsmith. What was it? You know, love me some Impulse. And they were like, no, you already have all the cards. You already have all the cards. You just need the common field spell and the Holy Sue, and then the rocks. That's it. That's the deck.
Well, you piloted it incredibly, so it seems like that was natural for you up on stage. But okay, you mentioned the Impulse, because that was also your fun fact. Do you think Rescue Ace Impulse is better than Dominus Impulse? I'm going to need you to explain this to me in the stream.
If you're going second and you hit them with an Impulse,
Wait, which one?
the less good one, the Dominus one. They have to have something. They do have to have something on field. So you are getting rid of a card in your hand to stop them, which is basically the same as just having an Ash Blossom.
It's like a 1-for-1.
It's a 1-for-1. If I activate Impulse, I summon my Fire Engine.
Rescue Ace Impulse.
Yes, my Rescue Ace Impulse. And then I special summon my Fire Engine. If they try to play, if they continue to play, I'm grabbing my Airlifter. I'm grabbing my spell, and then or if I wanted to, if I already have play, I can grab back my Impulse in the graveyard, my Rescue Ace Impulse, and then I can just lock out their highest attack monster.
A great breakdown of Rescue Ace Impulse for the man playing Vanquish Soul today. So maybe next time, maybe next event you'll be able to pull that one out. I want to get to know you a little bit more, though, because this is the NAWCQ. Everyone earned their points in a different way. How'd you earn your points to get the invite, or rather just get the invite? Which regional or YCS did you top?
I topped the Duluth regional. We had not had a regional in quite a long time. Every time we go to regional, we either have to go all the way down south, or we drive a little bit up to South Carolina.
Okay, interesting, cool. Well, happy to have you here regardless. And again, you won your feature match. You seemed relieved afterwards. You said, okay, hard part's over. What was the hard part for you?
Was it being on the feature match? I'm not particularly fond of being on camera.
Well, you did fantastic. Thank you so much for coming on, Giovanni. The crowd loves you. Congratulations on the win. Let's go back to the casters.
All right, thank you so much, Kangas. You know, I don't know. I'm not sold. I still think Dominus Impulse might be the better card, but I do love Rescue Ace Impulse and like what it provides. It's really cool if you can include it in your deck. But if I had to like pick between the two to play, I'm picking Dominus Impulse every time.
Watched a match earlier where it felt like Dominus Impulse just soloed that Orcus deck.
Yes.
Dominus Impulse on Nib, Dominus Impulse on Millennium.
Yeah, but it's fun. I get the heart of what he's saying, at least. It's really funny. He also said he won't think about bringing a deck to troll, so I kind of get a little insight into his personality there. But, you know, he's moving on 3-0. Yu-Gi-Oh, so maybe he wants to think about not trolling anymore and locking in to maybe get a chance to go into the World Championship. But before we jump to a quick break and then have another rivalry match that we're going to talk about, I want to talk about something awesome that is going on right now. That's right, it's Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Links Speed Duel, new main box Chaos Voltage. There's a lot of new awesome cards in this set that you want to check out. Shadal Fusion is in Duel Links. That's absolutely incredible. And Evil Twins, Trouble, Sunny, the ZS cards with Utopia stuff is pretty cool. But yeah, if you haven't checked out Duel Links in a while, make sure you go jump back in, get this new main box with some really new cards. A lot of awesome stuff to check out in Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Links. But as I said, we are going to take just a quick break, but there's a lunch break going on right now after round number 3, so the players are getting some food to eat. It's going to be a long day. They need that energy, but we're not going anywhere. We're going to be right back after a quick commercial break, and then we're going to jump into a Rivalry of Warlords finals match. We're going to see 2 of the rivalry decks go at it again. It's my favorite public event at the tournaments. You don't need any deck. You just get to borrow a deck to play in a tournament, a pre-constructed deck with some themes that you might not be familiar with. So stay tuned. We'll be right back with our Rivalry of Warlords matchup. Don't go anywhere. Hello everyone, Billy Break here at the Yu-Gi-Oh! Championship Series. Whether you're here to play in the main event or public events, there's always something for everyone at the YCS. So if you want to play in public events, we have so many different events to choose from. One of them is Rivalry of Warlords. You don't even need to bring your own deck. We'll provide a deck for you with a guide to learn along these new strategies. Themes like Amazement, Lyrilisc, and many other ones that you're going to be able to pick up and play against other people who are also learning these brand new strategies. So if you're going to a YCS, you want to make sure you check out all the public events, including Rivalry of Warlords. All right, I told you we'd be back really quickly, and I wasn't lying. We're still here, and we're going to talk about this new, it's not new, it's a public event that's been around for a few years now, Rivalry of Warlords. If you're familiar with the card, the reason why it's called this is because it's 32 different decks. We just refreshed the decks. There's brand new decks, and they're going to be strategies you haven't seen like a lot of, like we've seen like Art Mage, so we have new strategies like Art Mage and Dragon Rulers as available decks, along with older things like Ninjas. There's a Red Dragon Archfiend deck in there, lots of different things you can have. But when you enter the event, it's an 8-person tournament, I believe, most of the time. You get assigned a deck randomly. You don't get to pick one of the 32. You're just handed a deck. You get like a little bit of a guide to kind of give you like some pointers, maybe, like, or at least the general goal of the deck. And then you get some time to look through the cards and kind of get familiar with it. Maybe it's a strategy you've tried out before, so you could be a little more familiar with it, but it's still kind of random what you're going to play with. Then you play in your single elimination tournament, and you have the opportunity to try out some new stuff. It's a really cool public event. and we're going to have a finals for it live right here momentarily. What do you think about Rivalry of Warlords, Joe?
It seems like a very differing experience because not only are you getting a different deck, right? It's very unlikely that you get 2 repeats consecutively or within even a small period of time.
Yeah.
And then the decks that you play against are probably also going to be fairly randomized, and it's a guaranteed that you're not going to play against multiple of the same decks. You're really guaranteed not to play against your mirror matches, presumably. So it's really going to be an experience where it'll be different every time you enter. So it seems like an interesting experience for those of you who are looking to join some of those public events.
Yeah, definitely. And there's not going to be like a Raziel deck or a Malice deck. You're not going to face those big scary decks that you were going to see in the main event. So it's a nice refresh. Maybe you're done with the main event and you're ready to move on and play some public events. It's a great release. You don't have to worry about anything. You get to have some fun with some friends.
You might even be able to play a card on the Forbidden and Limited list, which we saw earlier with our Steven versus Steven matchup.
Yep, Pot of Greed, I think, is in the Archmage deck. There's some cool Forbidden cards that are kind of splashed in throughout some of the decks, but it's really cool to see and a lot of fun. But it really comes down to what deck you're dealt. They're all really good decks. They're all good in their own right, but obviously if you're handed a deck that you're somewhat familiar with, you could be at a little bit of an advantage there. But
do you have any favorites from the list of 32?
Oh, mine's Ninjas without a doubt.
Really?
That's one of my pet decks. I love Ninjas to death. I'm a big Mazen fan. Duplication, the Dancing Leaves, those cards. Hanzo since the beginning. He was on the cover of a tin, years ago. Hanzo is now just incredible. It actually kind of has some similarities to Snake Eye. I mean, it's just Baku. Baku is kind of like a Snake Eyes Poplar. So my favorite combo of Ninjas, we don't know what decks these two duelists are playing in the finals, hoping it's Ninjas. But if you open Tabari, the Sky Ninja, and Hanzo, you can discard Tabari, special summon Hanzo. Since you special summon Hanzo, you can add a Ninja monster. You add Baku, and Baku, when it's added from your deck to your hand, or it's when it's just added to your hand, so you can actually add it from your banished pile to your hand too. Special summon it to the field, and then it can add back a ninja card from your graveyard. So you can just add that Tabari right back to your hand, and then you already have 2 ninjas with different types on the field, which is all the requirements you need to fusion summon for Mazen, the Battle Ninja. And Mazen, if your opponent breathes, you get to summon a ninja from your deck, which results in Jiho, the Gravity Ninja. But I don't know if these players are playing Ninja, but that is my favorite pet deck. I think the Archmage deck is really strong in Rivalry right now too, just because it's one of the newer strategies as well. But I think our host is standing by with our players who are finalists in one of our Rivalry of Warlords public events. So go ahead and take it away, Kangas.
Thank you so much, Billy. It is time for our Rivalry of Warlords finals. While we give everybody here at the venue for the main event time for a little lunch break. So please join me in welcoming first up in the blue chair from Orlando, Florida. He wants to shout out the floor coach at the last regional, Manuel Velez. And this man is Jack White. And their opponent today in the red chair from Kettering, Ohio. Want to shout out their mom, Tracy, Ariel, and duelists are ready on stage, so let's throw it back to the casters for game number 1.
All right, thank you so much, Kangas. All right, so we aren't going to see Ninja or Archmage. It looks like these duelists got dealt 2 really cool decks. It's going to be the Red Eyes Full Metal deck up against Centurion.
Right.
2 really cool strategies that, Centurion's definitely one of the stronger Rivalry of Warlords deck. It's not full powered Centurion, it's a little watered down, but definitely really strong. So now we're going to see Jack up against Ariel.
Yeah, you're not going to expect to see something like Crimson Dragon. You're not going to expect to see some of the other cards you would expect in a Centurion deck. It's really just going to be all the Centurions.
Yep, it's
and lots of them.
A lot of the rival. That's why it's Rivalry of Warlords. It's more about the in-themed cards. You're playing themed kind of decks, pre-constructed decks, ready to go. But I bet these duels are pretty excited. When you enter a public event, I don't think you're expecting to end up on the feature match stage. So it's definitely an awesome bonus for these duels here this weekend, competing at the public events in the NAWCQ.
This is one of those events where you're probably going to end up having to read quite a bit of your opponent's cards just by virtue of just the wide array of possibilities.
Definitely the case, but that's the one way to actually learn how your cards do is by playing with them. But yeah, this Full Metal deck isn't just a deck that splashes like Red Eyes Full Metal and the Max Metal Morph cards. It's using Metal Zoa X, the Red Eyes Black Full Metal Dragon, of course, but Metal Illusionist is a really cool card that I like, as it lets you access anything with Max Metal Morph that you actually need.
Yeah, this is going to be a learning experience, I think, for certainly me to some extent. I imagine if I were to join one of these, I'd be learning so much as well. This is really a great opportunity just to learn the wide array of decks that this game has to offer.
It definitely is. All right, the Duelists are shuffling up. They are in the finals of a Rivalry of Warlords public event. That's the thing, at these events, even though if you're like a little scared of like, maybe I'm not like hyper competitive, I don't want to play in the main event, there's plenty of public events tournaments that you can enter at even YCSs, the NAWCQ, where you can still have fun playing Yu-Gi-Oh! But you don't have to play in like the main event. Or maybe your main event ends, you get eliminated from the tournament, you decide you're not going to be able to get enough points to make the day 2. You still have other ways that you can play Yu-Gi-Oh! Throughout the day.
Yeah, it's definitely a change of pace. I think a lot of the public events offer Duelists a change of pace. So we see this the player shuffling up. I wonder if this is one of those formats or type of events where there might be value in going second, because the ceiling of what a deck can do going first might not necessarily be as high, and you might actually value just drawing the 6th additional card. Just an interesting potential.
Oh, definitely.
When looking at a format like this.
Yeah, you're not going to see as explosive turn 1 boards, even though if there is one of the decks in Rivalry that can make a pretty solid going first board, Centurion Ion is going to be that strategy.
Yeah.
And I mean, the same thing for the Max Metal cards. Like, if you can access Max Metal more quickly, summoning the Red Eyes Black Full Metal, like, you're able to negate a card as well. It's pretty strong.
Okay.
But this is going to be game number 1 of the
High
Rivalry of
okay.
Warlords public event final.
That's pretty high.
One of the public events. They run continuously as soon as they fill up in 8-person pods.
I will go ahead and go first. Good luck to you, brother.
All right. Ariel has elected to go first.
4, 5. Stand by. Main phase.
Yes.
We will normal summon Centurion Trudea.
All right, Trudea is going to be first. It's a good start.
Good starter.
I will attempt Trudea effect to place itself in another from deck, another Centurion monster specifically.
That's good.
Yep, so it's going to place itself, put another one into the spell and trap card zone, and then Crimea is now going to be able to special summon out.
We'll go
Primera? Yep, Centurion Primera.
Effect. It'll special summon itself.
So they're now, so the Centurion ones turn themselves into continuous trap cards that can special summon them from the spell and trap zone. And since they're continuous trap cards, they're kind of like quick effects.
To add a Centurion card from deck to hand.
So the Primera is going to summon itself from the spell and trap zone, and now it's going to use its effect to add Centurion. You know, if I had to guess, I think Ariel has played this deck before.
Yeah, she seems to have a great understanding of the strategy. I mean, granted, she's been able to play 2 previous rounds, so she's had at least 4 games under her belt, but you know, there's that possibility that you are really familiar with your strategy.
Centurion.
All right, now Wake Up Centurion's going to let it summon a token.
If I want a level 4 or
level 4 or level 8, so it's going to depend whether they want to go into a level 8 synchro or a level 12 synchro right away.
Token. May I have a token, please? Thank you.
Look at that beautiful judge token.
Does look nice.
See, we see cards like Forbidden Chalice, which is a nice interaction. It's been a while since you've seen that card in sort of what you would consider, you know, our just traditional advanced format. But
all right, so looks like they decided to go for a level 8 synchro. So Premier Primus lets you add any Centurion card from the deck to the hand.
Any, and literally any with this particular build.
Gonna go for, oh, it's an Emblema card. That's right, an Emblema. An Emblema Oath gets you access to the Centurion field spell.
Place one of the monsters.
Or essentially, it's a midway point into getting where you need any Centurion card. But
I'll activate Stand Up.
Already has Stand Up. This field spell is awesome. Lets you discard a card to add a Centurion, or place a Centurion in your spell and trap zone. But it also lets you summon or synchro summon during your opponent's turn, which is the key part of this field spell.
Yeah, when a special summon occurs.
Yep.
Which this deck can just inherently do by moving the monsters from the spell and trap card zone into the monster zone.
Yep. Gargoyle is going to add to the spell and trap zone. This is a cool one that just goes back to your hand after you use it. So it's like kind of one of those cards that just never goes away.
Yes.
Okay. I will level modulate to make it a level 4 since it's coming from the spell trap zone.
I really love announcing the
sending to
plays,
summon?
being very clear what's happening.
Second effect, right? Yes.
Yeah, it's very nice.
And then, you know, even just giving the insight of I'm going to summon a token and I get to choose the level of it. that helps clarify in game 2 or 3 if you were to activate that card again, exactly what these cards do.
Centurion Legadia. Or, sorry, Jesus.
Auxilia. Yep.
I will go
So the
Auxilia.
Prima Prius is a synchro tuner, I believe, so that's why
Add
they're able to
Gargoyle
synchro.
2 to return to hand since it was used for a synchro.
That's good.
They add it back to the hand. Auxilia is going to add from the deck to the hand.
I'll add a Phalanx.
That's good.
So now both Centurion traps access here for Ariel. Phalanx is just like a decent card on its own. Kind of like a Destiny Hero Doomlord effect, just being able to banish a monster. But going to send the Phalanx to the graveyard to activate Stand Up to place a Centurion into the spell and trap zone from the deck.
That's really the key card
Base.
when you play against the stand-up, just in general. I remember playing cards like Cosmic Cyclone or something to try and banish it on your turn before they're able to conduct a synchro summon.
Effective special.
I would think that Ariel has played this deck
Yes.
before. There's no way that they're being able to set up the H-Treat to the point where you're going to be able to draw a card as well. I don't think that they may have learned this in the past couple rounds, but that's the luck of the draw sometimes with Rivalry of Warlords, where you get a deck that you already know a little bit, and then it's just a really good combination. Drawing into another useful card there in Cosmic Cyclone.
And sending Trudea for cross.
And the Gargoyle added itself back, so now it can be used from the hand to special summon. A tree is one of the few level 4 tuners in the deck. Looks like they are eyeing Legatus. Oh, no, they're going to go for
wow.
Despy and Lulu Walleth. That's interesting.
What was the rest of that name?
Lulu Walleth. Now, this is a cool one. So if your opponent special summons a monster, you can negate all their face-up monsters, I believe is what Lulu Walleth. It's been a while. We used to summon it off like Granganol and Brandon.
Yeah.
Set.
But a useful level 12 synchro coming down here for Ariel.
I think they're contemplating, is there a Harpy's Feather Duster? Maybe even a Forbidden Heavy Storm in this.
You never know.
You never know.
I messed up my combo. Love that. Set 4. And move to end phase. End phase Auxilla to place a Centurion from Grave or Banish.
Yeah, that's good.
Okay. I will place Primera.
Yep.
All right, so the Primera is going to be placed at the end phase thanks to Auxilla. No Legatus on the field, so not going to get a draw or anything here
Stand
at the
by.
end phase.
Yes.
But now it's Jack's turn to see what he can do with his max metal cards.
Activate incoming machine.
Okay, that's a
Can
really
let me
good start.
Add a monster that mentions max metal move or 1 metal move trap from my deck to it.
Incoming machine can pretty much add any card that's in the deck to the hand.
Just about any in-engine card or any
Yep.
in-theme card.
It's definitely one of the stronger cards in the Max Metal Morph deck.
I will add a Zoa, the Fiendish Beast.
Zoa the Fiendish Beast. Add it to his hand.
All right, so Zoa the Fiendish Beast. You can normal summon if your opponent controls a monster, and if it's in your hand, you can special summon in defense mode.
Illusion, I will
And if Max Metal Force is not in your graveyard, your opponent can then special summon a card from their hand. But once it's on the field during the main phase, you can set a Metal Morph trap
activate
from the deck.
Red Metal
And there are no
Morph.
cards in Ariel's hand right now.
I will send this face down card to the graveyard.
Okay,
To summon it to from the hand. As
gonna
sending
set the Max
from
Metal
the
Morph, send it to the
field
graveyard.
is a cost.
That is fine.
It's gonna be able to summon.
On summon, if I have a max metal morph in my graveyard, I can add a metal morph trap from my deck to my hand.
Gonna be able to get another Metal Morph card.
I will
But it looks like Ariel might be using Forbidden Chalice here to negate the
Chalice.
effect.
target to negate, and then it will just gain the 4 until the end of the turn.
That's good.
Okay.
Not going to let Jack add another card that mentions Metal Morph.
I'll activate
I love
Zoa,
Forbidden
the
Chalice.
Phoenix
It felt
Beast
like it was
effect
Imperm
is
before Imperm came out.
Special from hand
It's a
is-
good one. It still has some applications, like being able to negate things in the damage step that a lot
Snowman
of other
Eater.
cards can't. There you go.
That was the big one.
So we do see the Metal Morph,
Send it,
the Zoa coming down, but since the Metal Morph is in the
No, sets
graveyard
Oh,
now,
sets one, yes.
it won't be able to, let Ariel summon a card from the hand, but there is no hand, as you mentioned, so no harm, no foul.
Really
Two
cool
monsters
artwork.
on the field. Yeah, they're really cool. I really love these cards. And now he's going to be able to still access Max Metalmorph.
Tribute special.
I love the artwork of the original Zoa, specifically sort of the video game promo version. You know what I'm referring to?
Okay.
Yeah, the blue's very nice.
Yeah,
it's
it
very nice
really pops.
shade of blue. All right, so now Max Metalmorph is on the field face down. Like you could see, like there's like Ariel did a lot on their first turn, but
Metal Illusionist.
not a lot in like terms of like disruption as like you see like in modern Yu-Gi-Oh, like from the monsters on the field. Like the Destiny Luoth does provide a form of interruption in like negating your opponent's monster effect when they special summon.
Metalmorph in the graveyard on resolution. I
Can I
draw.
read the second?
Oh, yes. It's gonna let me
All
draw
right, so
one.
this is the Metal Illusionist. This is going to be the normal summon. This is a really good card. So when it's normal or special summon, you can set a Metalmorph trap from your deck. And then if Max Metalmorph is in your graveyard, you can draw a card. And Jack has already adapted and like learned. I'm impressed at how well these players know their decks. I mean, you don't have much time to learn, but they're playing
here I would
excellent
declare
in this
a
matchup.
type
But it also has the
metal
other effect where it can
illusionist,
declare
and then
a monster
end
type,
phase,
and it becomes that type
type.
until your opponent's end of their
here
next
I will
turn.
declare
So whatever you want to summon with Max Metalmorph, you
Dragon.
just kind of declare that type.
Is good.
He also knew to put the Max Metalmorph in the graveyard, kind of as the cost for the effect that we saw earlier in the turn. So he actually even knew how to get it into the graveyard without it having to be set and kind of go through the full rotation of what a typical trap card would need to get to the graveyard.
Yeah, I mean, maybe he's played with the Max Metalmorph cards before, but I mean, I'd understand maybe playing Centura Ion, but this is like definitely an underrated strategy, but they're playing it really well here.
Attempt to leave main
It's
phase.
cool to see this back and forth.
Still.
I wonder if these duelists have entered their first rivalry, or
Or
if these are experienced.
They
Let's
could have
see.
played yesterday,
Yeah,
too.
they could have played yesterday a few times, and all we really need to play against one of these strategies once, not even with, just even against,
You kind
to
of
kind
learn
of
with
pick up on some of these little tricks.
That's fine.
Cosmic Cyclone,
Nothing
vanishing,
else, you are good to move to battle. If you
flame
like.
coating Metalmorph, I think.
Activate Metal Flame Swords.
Oh, Metal Flame Swordsman. This card is actually just really good.
And I can add one card that mentions
It basically lets you add anything. There's a lot of the Max Metalmorph cards just let you get any card that you want from your deck to your hand. A lot of toolbox kind of cards in the
Yeah.
Max Metalmorph deck.
In a universe where you're probably not seeing a lot of Draw and Lockbirds incorporated in any of these deck lists, so search away.
It's kind of cool. Like, what would happen if you Metalmorph to Flame Swordsman? Like,
Yeah.
it's so sweet.
I'll add a copy
So-
of Flame Coating Metal.
So the Flame Coating Metalmorph was banished, but he just went ahead and grabbed another copy to hand.
Attempt to leave main once again.
Leaving main is fine.
All right, attempting to
This
leave
time
the
towards
main.
End phase. If you would like.
Looks like just going to end phase here.
I will go.
Wait, is leaving main fine? Do you
Oh,
have nothing?
yeah.
Oh,
Sorry, I thought you were moving to end phase. Yeah.
yes. Anything in end phase.
In end phase, I will go Auxilla 1 to place, and then Phalanx 2, Centurion Phalanx 2, targeting Centurion Premier Primus.
Yep.
To special summon it, and then it will lose 1500 attack.
That's good.
So during the end phase, they are going to special summon back the Primus and then place a
Summon
card
it
with Auxilia.
here.
So this just shows the power of the Centurion.
The follow-up.
Yeah, the follow-up is they get to just sit there for an entire turn rotation. We've now seen 2 cards placed into the spell and trap card zone
No, nothing on this.
with Auxilla.
Still end phase.
Yeah, Centurion is definitely one of the stronger decks out of the rival ones you can get lucky in this full, but still in the end phase, the Mystical Space Typhoon being held in the hand to be used
On another Phalanx.
on another copy of Phalanx.
And
So that's another thing that's really fun about watching this is some of these cards you see as one-ofs. One Phalanx, maybe.
Oh, activate
But how about what happens if you just play full 3 Phalanx?
That mentions Max Metalmorph from the
All right,
deck.
so it looks like draw phase or semi-phase. Jack is going to go ahead and use the Max Metalmorph immediately.
Centurion True Awakening.
But True Awakening is going to be able to send to negate that Max Metalmorph. And Ariel could be moments away from taking this game number 1. Just having answers for everything that Jack and his Max Metalmorph strategy are trying to do.
My main phase. In main, we will special summon Premier, and then attempt Premier effect on summon.
All right, so Primera is going to special summon itself and then add a Centurion from the deck to the hand.
Just double checking.
He doesn't have grave effect. I'm gonna double check.
Zoa. I think they just said it doesn't have a random effect. That's definitely something you want to check. If there's not a
Grave effect.
additional line of text. some continuous effect on some of these cards you may not have a ton of familiarity with.
Yeah, Wake Up is such a good card. Being able to just get that token and have the to go alongside your level 4 tuner.
Wake Up, I will make a level 8 token. And then I will synchro for 12 into Citrian Legadia.
It's great use of the extra monster zone, too.
Yep, won't be needing any link monsters for that.
I'm not even sure there's a link monster incorporated in this particular deck list, so there's actually no downside, really.
I'm not sure there's a link monster incorporated in any of these 32 decks in Rivalry Warlords.
Oh, okay. So use that extra monster
zone. So if you're
away.
really wanting to play like a refresh of Yu-Gi-Oh! Maybe without any link monsters, Rivalry Warlords might be the thing you want to look at.
So you're telling me there's not a Sky Striker package in any
I
of
would
these decks?
say there's not a link monster in the 32 decks in Rivalry Warlords. I would say there's not a link or a pendulum monster that you will find in any of those 32 decks.
Yes.
All right.
And then I will attempt to enter battle phase. That's 24. So
But there are certainly synchro monsters.
I can
as
see
we're
those.
seeing for Ariel.
I see a lot of those.
There's a lot of them. And Ariel is going to go to battle phase, start attacking with all these Centurion monsters. I'm pretty sure this is going to be 8,000 points of damage, or very close. I don't think the Auxilia's attacked yet. So it's going to be going to game number 2, and Ariel's going to take down game number 1 with ease.
Ooh, a Forbidden Lance? Another fantastic card. Another blast from the past.
All those forbidden cards, Lance is really good at protecting like your Centurion monsters, because that's what can go wrong. Like when you're going second, you really need to stick the tuner onto the field to be able to synchro summon to get your strategy online. And Forbidden Lance might be one of those cards that can really do that, especially in like a format like this one.
It also counteracts. This was a classic interaction back in the day. Fiendish Chain,
True.
which we see 3 of in this Max Metal Foe deck. That used to be the classic.
Okay, so
You'd lance off the Fiendish Chain.
okay.
Looks like the judge is giving some instructions.
Yeah, there's no side decking, so
There's
we
no
don't really
side
need
decks.
to have that few moment of downtime. We are ready because they're ready, which is another interesting aspect of this format. There's no side decking. Thumbs up after game 1.
Thumbs up to the friends. I mean, yeah, that's what I love about like tournaments. Like I did well at mini YCSs, top plenty events, but there were infinitely more number of YCSs that I did not do well at, that I lost over and over again. But every time I lose, maybe I'll take like 5 or 10 minutes to myself, but then you'll see me immediately running over to the public event stage, and I'm trying to enter the next kind of tournament, trying to keep playing Yu-Gi-Oh! And now that we have Rivalry Warlords as my favorite public event, you can even play with strategies that you're not as familiar with and borrow decks as well. You don't even have to have a Yu-Gi-Oh! Deck.
Now you can show up here with absolutely nothing.
And you get to try out some really cool stuff. But
And
now
potentially make your way on stream.
Yep, you definitely could. And Jack is going to be able to go first this time with Puri Rice Map.
I will pay half, and that lets me add a
Pay half to add a monster with 0 attack and 0 defense.
That is fine.
So the most painful reinforcement of the army-like effect in the game, basically.
Yep.
Going to add Metal Illusionist. That's the really good starter card here in the Max Metalmorph deck.
Incoming machine, and lets me add
Okay, we got a couple of starting cards here for Jack. The Metalmorph deck's definitely better at going first than going second most of the time, even though we saw there are some tools to get monsters onto the field when you're going second.
And again, in a universe, well, there will be no Droll and
I will add a
Lockbird.
regular Max Metalmorph. Yes.
Or Drillbird, for that matter.
Yeah, Drollbird. You got to watch out for that Drollbird. So gets a copy of Max Metalmorph. Going to set the Max Metalmorph.
Black Eyes Metal Claws Dragon.
We saw this in the first game where it activates the Red Eyes Black Full Metal Dragon to send the Max Metalmorph to special summon itself from the hand.
Is that not Metal Claws Dragon?
Or is it Metal Claws Dragon? Red Eyes Metal Claws Dragon. Yeah, Red Eyes Black Full Metal is that's the one that can negate.
Yeah, the ultra rare.
Yep.
And here I will go normal illusionist effect to set.
Metal Illusionist is going to let Jack set a Max Metalmorph
Flame Coating Metalmorph.
or Flame Coating Metalmorph.
And it won't let me draw one because I control I have a Max Metalmorph in the graveyard on time resolution.
Yep, and this
Flame
is
Coating's the one that lets you
the one that will allow him
Oh,
to
they both
draw.
Okay.
Again, as we saw in the previous game, because Max Metalmorph is in the graveyard. That sequencing is really critical.
And here I'll also special summon Zoa, the Fiendish Beast.
Yes.
And I will activate the effect to set one from the deck. On the max minimal strength. Yes, it's deck.
Yeah, just verifying it's deck and not deck and graveyard.
Max minimals. And I'm
All right, a good start here for Jack.
I'll activate Metal Flame Swordman.
We're seeing all the cards. I mean, this is the deck. It's a consistency deck. It's kind of maxing out on all the Metal Morph cards. So you're going to see the same kind of cards be activated, and it's a very toolbox deck, and you're going to be able to access the Metal Morph cards when you need them. Now, Centurion, really good at going first, but with all these hurdles in their way, I don't know if Ariel's going to have as much of a good time like they did in that first game, being able to get all the Centurion monsters on the field, especially when I saw that Jack drew into a copy of Mystical Space Typhoon. Being able to destroy, chain that to one of the Centurion monsters trying to summon themselves, or just taking out the field spell can actually be really huge.
Yeah, and that's not something that Forbidden Lance would be able to protect.
You're right.
That's kind of just a weird...
It may be a monster card, but it's not a monster
no.
you can target with Forbidden Lance.
I can activate Metal
But I
Morph
mean, going
Chalice
second,
from
you
the
do
set.
have 3 copies of Forbidden Lance and 3 copies of Forbidden Chalice, it looks like, in the Centurion deck. So this pre-constructed Centurion deck does have some resistance to having to go second.
Yep, going to be able to activate the fire,
Is fine.
the flame coating Metal Morph. I want to say fire coating, but I was like, no, that's not right. Flame coating Metal Morph.
Zoa X will have
Summon
coating equipped to it.
Metal Zoa X, and then it's going to equip it with the flame coating Metal Morph. So if it would be destroyed by a battle or card effect, it can protect it.
Okay.
You got to get rid of that flame coat before you can get to the actual monster. Now Max Metal Morph is going to be activated, swapping out the red eyes for the red eyes.
The red eyes.
But the red eyes black full Metal Dragon this time.
Oh, did
This
they
is the
put
one
a
that can
quarter
negate.
century in there?
Is
That's
it?
awesome.
So yes, you might get to play with some really shiny cards if you happen to sign up for a Rivalry of Warlords.
Hey, that's what it looks like from here.
You never know.
Okay, so negate burn.
Yep. I know that with the first wave of our Rivalry of Warlords deck, there was a Toon deck, and it was like all collector rare and just looked really nice. So you never know.
Super Toon Table of Contents?
No, I don't know
Probably
about
not,
that.
okay.
Probably not that. Not that crazy.
All right. Not the old tournament back super rares.
No, definitely not. But definitely has some forms of interruption here for Ariel's first turn.
Stand by.
The Metal Zoa X is going to be a twice per turn effect. If the opponent activates a monster or spell or trap effect, quick effect, you can destroy one monster your opponent controls. So it's kind of like Detonator.
Yeah, I could see that.
All right, Ariel's going to lead off with Emblema Oath.
That's good.
I will place Primera here.
Look at that. Still worrying about zone placement.
Anything?
Once you got it ingrained into you, you can't
Forever.
stop. Yep.
Even if you don't have
Mystical
a,
Space Typhoon, that's what I'm talking about. Destroys the Primera. You get to see old school cards taking on new school cards in creative ways in Rivalry of Warlords.
Train a tree.
Okay, normal summon A-Tree.
Activate the effect.
That's good.
The level 4 tuner, we have Wake Up.
I will activate Wake Up
Yep,
Centurion.
we're waking up.
I will make a level 8 token.
And so this is going to force out the Metal Zoa X to destroy the monster. We said twice per turn.
So,
mini detonator effect.
then I will make
I just love how fast these players adapted to the decks they were handing randomly. They're playing it like they're masters of these strategies, and I love it.
I mean, they both knew exactly how to navigate their opening turn to establish the maximum number of
You
interactions.
do get like some time at the beginning to like read through your cards and play around with it a little bit to kind of figure out maybe where you want to go.
Centurion token per cost.
Does it
Oh, you
have
can't
to?
send tokens?
Yeah, you
Okay.
can't send the token,
Then I will scoop and we will.
and that's gonna be it. And Jack with his metal morphs, knowing how to do it, get the rightful metal cards on the field, able to take down the Centurions here in game number 2, and really on the backs of that Mystical Space Typhoon.
He doesn't even need an extra deck. That's another interesting thing you note, that not all these decks are incorporate an extra deck.
Yeah.
You just don't need it.
Don't need it. Your main deck is just strong enough. You never know what you're going to get in Rivalry of Warlords, and that is half the fun. And the other half is mastering these strategies you might not be as familiar with. And these are just 2 of the 32 different decks there are.
And just look at how quick, we're going right here into game 3 because, again, you don't have to wait for any side decking. So, again, if you're looking for just that nice, quick-paced dueling,
this is it.
Again, maybe the main event didn't go the way you intended and you really want to play in a public event like this. This is really just a great opportunity to get something that's quite refreshing.
Certainly is. The duels are shuffled up and ready to go.
Send tokens. I knew you could banish them.
Yeah, tokens don't go to the graveyard, so any
Outside
card
the
that has to
field.
send a card to the graveyard as a cost won't work. But we are into game number 3 here of the finals of one of the Rivalry of Warlords public events.
And this is also great, right? Ariel just learning this new tidbit that could matter, not just in this game, in this match, but just for the entirety of their career.
Yep. The more you play Yu-Gi-Oh!, the more you learn. But starting off strong here with stand-up Centura Ion.
Sending Gargoyle for cost.
Going to send to place the Centura Ion from the deck to the spell and trap zone.
I will place a Primera.
So we see Primera, classic
I will
starter.
Attempt Primera special. And then on summon Primera effect to add a Centurion card. Okay. I will add Wake Up.
So we're going to stand up and eventually get into Wake Up.
I will activate Wake Up Centurion. I will make a level 4 token.
Yep.
And then I will synchro for 8. Make a Primera Primus.
All right, Premier Primus is coming
Primus
down.
effect to add Emblema.
I like how multiple strategies recently have had an extra deck monster that allowed it to search out a spell card in the deck that's so integral to the strategy that was difficult to otherwise search. We saw that with Perfume earlier in Lunalights, and obviously this is the NAWCQ that we're watching, but finding a way to actually search out Oath,
Activate Emblema Oath
if you were to play
place
Centurions
Spirit
outside of Rivalry, I think is really vital.
Definitely. All right, Emblema Oath is going to place the Gargoyle.
Thinking here.
So it looks like I see, I think, a Phalanx and a Chalice in hand. Can't.
I will normal summon Centurion Atri and then attempt Atri effect on summon.
Since stand up is on the field spell and Emblema card is in the graveyard, the Atri unlocks the effect to be able to draw a card.
The stand up.
That's good.
I had you cut correct.
It's always good to double check that the deck has been sufficiently randomized. Looks like maybe another Primera.
Oh my goodness.
Okay, it looks like they realized you can't activate the Wake Up without a card in the spell and trap zone. So it looks like they're going to rewind the game stage a little bit. Now, like I said, this is Rivalry of Warlords, so these are decks that people aren't familiar with. So kind of some of the little intricacies, sometimes you're not going to know exactly every limitation and every rule of every single card because you only have such a short amount of time to understand it. But it's also something that you can actually learn from. Oh, I guess we're coming back to us, but yeah, they're resolving the situation here very shortly. I think they almost have it figured out, in fact, but this is gonna happen when you're playing with a brand new deck, especially when it's such a small thing like the Wake Up.
I can't even begin to tell you how many times that happened at the kitchen room table, playtesting brand new cards right after they came out.
That's how
showing
you
up
learn.
to locals and then somebody telling you, you do know that doesn't work like that, and you're like, oh well.
Yeah, that's how you learn from your mistakes, is by making the mistake in the first place. I mean, I've played it, for 20 plus years, and those situation still will happen.
Yeah.
It's never intentional most of the time.
Not
Especially
normally, no.
when you're playing with Rivalry Warlords, where you're borrowing a deck and kind of learning as you go.
Yeah, that's sort of a nature of the beast with this particular format and this particular public event.
Yeah, definitely. But it is what it is. At least we're here at the NAWCQ. I'm just happy that we can feature a public event here on the stage. So we get to take, because it's a lunch break for our players, we're kind of taking like a meta break here from the main event to like enjoy some other alternative Yu-Gi-Oh that you can play. And it's like these awesome new Rivalry Warlords decks. I mean, there's 32 brand new ones. So if you've played Rivalry Warlords in the past and maybe you're like, oh, I don't want to play with the same decks that I've played with previously, this is the first event where we've had 32 brand new decks, and it has decks all the way up into Duelist Advance cards. In fact, there's some decks from Battles of Legend, Duelist Advance, and but there's also older strategies as well. I mean, the full metal cards, we never really got to see those shine as the deck themselves, but now you get to see them actually perform against other decks of the same power level.
Yeah, it's been really interesting to watch. I mean, I've been learning just watching this particular match about some of the intricacies. Like, I understood Centurion. It's a deck we've seen in the feature match area, but the full metal cards?
Yeah, not too. I've seen like the Red Eyes Full Metal Dragon splashed into Dragon decks because you can really put it in anything. But I think the Duel, they rewound the game state and figured out where they were at before the illegal activation, which is just going to be a minor warning. So we're right back into the Duel.
I will normal summon the Atri, and then we will sink it here. Yeah, Atri can be used as a non-tuner. Primus effect to add an emblema.
All right, so now we're getting back into sort of an alternate way to get into a lemma.
And then we will.
I mean, what's going to happen is we're going to end up with the same exact situation that we were in previously, just played in a different order.
Yeah, but it is important so that the viewers at home can see that
learn.
If there is a mistake sequentially, just in terms of valid, legitimate plays, that we can easily correct it, even if it ends in the same spot.
Like, I just want to point out that literally all that changed was the emblema needed to be activated before the wake up. But it is good to know the correct sequence of plays, right? But yeah, it's
if there are duelists at home,
it's a little silly to me, but
if there are duelists at home who are watching this and learning, which, I'm admitting that the nature in which these decks are currently playing is not the way that I'd be familiar with in preparations for commentary, because, again, you try and understand what the Centurion deck is trying to do when it has access to the entire card pool. So it is really valuable to see everything done exactly as intended.
Yeah, even if it is just, activation order.
Yeah.
Because if you're playing in, like, not a public event, like in a regional or something like that, you definitely don't want to make that mistake.
No, that's where it can really bite you. You want to make sure you're making all legal plays, obviously.
Yeah. And then I will attempt Phalanx effect, target Primus to special. And then I'll special in defense. It just has 1100 attack. Because
banishes the Phalanx, summon back the Centurion Primus.
And that's really great of emphasizing the attack reduction.
And then attempt to leave the main phase.
And I feel like sometimes the downsides of a card aren't verbalized like that, and then one of the players ends up getting surprised, like, oh, I really wish it would have been acknowledged aloud that there was an attack reduction.
Yeah, letting your opponent know all the effects that are happening is very important, and respectful of your opponent's time. All right, so decent setup here for Ariel. Now let's see how Jack's going to navigate this here in game number 3. Going to start things off with the Puri Rice map again. Going to be able to add that Metal Illusionist from the deck to the hand. It's also be able to add a lot of DDD cards. Well, DD cards, I guess. Savant Kepler.
Yep. Yeah, we've seen that card
0/0 stats.
filter in and out of competitive play over the course of the last handful of years.
Nothing on resolution.
Okay, but that is black Full Metal Dragon effective hand. It reveals itself to set a Metal Morph trap and then shuffles itself back.
Okay, that's fine.
All right, starting things off here with the Red Eyes Black Full Metal Dragon. Going to set Max Metal Morph from the deck. And return the Full Metal Dragon to the deck.
So that protects these guys from destruction. And then the field spell protects itself because I have the monsters.
Which is a funny downside of the fact that this particular version is playing Mystical Space Typhoon and not the Cosmic Cyclone.
Because of the destruction
because
protection.
Of the destruction protection.
Yeah.
It's just a small little quirk.
Vortex is...
Lightning Vortex.
That's a blast from the past.
Blast from the past, discarding the Max Metalmorph hand, but getting that Max Metalmorph in the graveyard is actually beneficial here for Jack.
You were telling me a little bit earlier today that you were playing Master Duel, and you were able to play Diamond Dude
Yes.
in one of those
in the time travel
events,
yes.
hitting cards like Destiny Draw. You commented on in Reinforcements of the Army. That was another one that if you're able to hit on Diamond Dude, that was just impactful.
Definitely, yeah. Destiny Draw Diamond Dude, one of my favorite cards for sure.
Nothing on res.
But they are protected, so not going to be able to destroy anything, but gets the Max Metalmorph in the grave. Metal Illusionist is going to be met by Forbidden Chalice, which is devastating for Jack. He really needs to be able to change the attribute of Max Metalmorph. Looks like the Zoa is going to come down from the hand in defense mode.
It's the Red Eyes one that allows you to activate the same turn you set them, correct?
Thinking about responding here.
I will True Awakening, send Primera to negate and destroy.
The counter.
Yeah, the Centurion deck definitely has a lot of tools going first, and there's multiple copies of those tools, so you don't even have to search them out most of the time. You can just hard draw them from the deck, and this might be the last interruption that Ariel needs to disrupt Jack's turn.
Just a quick double check. Forbidden Chalice does have that secondary effect of increasing the attack.
Yep.
Not that that matters a lot here, but it is
from
important
0 to
to
400. That's,
yeah.
But during the end phase, the Auxilia is going to be able to place Centurion back into the spell and trap zone.
And that
the duel's winding down. The lunch break is coming to a close here very soon.
And you still want to continue in FAC?
The winner must be present to claim their prize.
All right, Ariel's going to draw.
Stand by.
Share your thoughts and you can hop away with the Rescue Rabbit.
I will attempt to Gargoyle Special.
They are continuous trap cards. Ariel's going to move to special summon from the spell and trap card zone. Makes it a level 4. Prima Primus is a Synchro Tuner.
For Centurion Legadia.
Again, using that extra monster zone well.
Legadia effect 1, Gargoyle effect 2 to add.
That's fine.
Legadia's going to destroy the Metal Illusionist, it looks like.
Okay.
Yes.
I will
Nope.
attempt.
He's just ready. He knows what's about to happen. He knows these moments away. He's also only at 4,000 life points because of Pure Ice Map. So they just need to pretty much put their monsters in attack mode, go to battle phase, and clean up. But not going to be the case here. Going to power through because the Max Metalmorph has nothing to tribute.
Yeah.
Because the Metal Illusionist is not an appropriate type because it had its effect negated thanks to Forbidden Chalice.
So something that matters if you were to play Centurion in kind of our advanced tournament, if you were to play it, for instance, this weekend in the NAWCQ, the reason why you would activate another stand-up Centurion is that effect is only on the turn it's summoned effect. The one of being able to place a Centurion from your deck. So sometimes you see there you'll filter one through another.
It doesn't matter. I will switch Auxilia to attack. I will attempt to leave the main phase. I will move to battle.
That's good.
Is there something he can summon Max Metalmorph? I don't think so.
Attempt Primera declare into Illusionist.
Yeah.
For 16.
Maybe he's just kind of bluffing there looking at the Max
And then
Metalmorph.
I will declare with Auxilia to attempt to go for game.
Yeah,
Good game, brother.
we've been a couple attacks away, and Ariel is going to win this public event for Rivalry of Warlords with Centurion.
Yeah, it sounded like it was a nice cheer in their background too, which is just fantastic. Imagine coming to this being able to play in Rivalry of Warlords, but then getting on the Feature Match Arena with your friends, maybe family watching. That's a bucket
cool.
list item right there.
It's some cool stuff, and definitely unexpected. But if you are going to an event in the upcoming, year, or you're here right now, maybe watching on your phone and listening, Rivalry of Warlords is an amazing public event. If you want to go enter, do something a little bit fresh, a little bit different from standard Yu-Gi-Oh, even though you're going to be playing with cards that you might see in a standard Yu-Gi-Oh, but maybe in a different form. There's 32 different decks that you could randomly be assigned. It's something you're going to definitely want to check out.
I mean, if you're at home, you could probably leave now and make it for tomorrow. Just about anywhere on Earth for the public event. So
hey, come on over. We still have Sunday to have all these public events, but this is definitely a public event that's going to be offered at many events to come. There's some local stores that actually run the events at their OTS for sure as well, but it's definitely a mainstay of the championship series that's been there for a while, for a couple of years now, but it just got refreshed with 32 brand new decks, so you definitely want to check it out. But I think we might be standing by waiting to actually have an interview with our winner, which will be cool. We get to actually hear from Ariel themselves about how the match went, how Rivalry Warlords was, and like what it's like playing in public events, which I'm really eager to hear.
I think I actually overheard that they have familiarity to some extent with the Centurion deck. I'm curious if that is from playing it in the advanced format, or if that's just because they've had experience from specifically these rivalry tournaments. Looking at two duelists who have had 10 or 15 entries over the course of their career into rivalry, or two duelists who just picked it up today. I'm kind of curious to hear that.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I said this earlier. Luck. It could be lucky that you ended up with a deck that you know well, but you only know that deck well because of the preparation. Preparation meets opportunity results in your good luck, but you have to have that preparation to ever be lucky in the first place. But I think our host is standing by with Ariel, so take it away for our winners interview here for our public event, Rivalry of Warlords.
Thank you very much. I'm live here with Ariel. Congratulations on winning Rivalry of Warlords and getting to do it on the feature match stage, which is a rare occurrence. I want to get your thoughts first off. Have you been on the feature match stage before?
No, this is the first time ever.
So what did it feel like?
Nerve-wracking.
Do you feel like it elevates the stress levels and like makes you think twice about your plays?
Definitely, because I'm like, okay, I can't misplay in front of the whole world, and of course, that's what I did. But here we are. It didn't really matter, so it worked out.
Well, you still took the win, and you had some thoughts about your opponent already, saying like, you're happy to get to go against them. So what do you think about how they were playing?
I mean, I don't know what a lot of the Metamorph stuff does, but it seemed like he knew, and he cooked up a great board game too. So it was definitely interesting. Like, that's what I really love about Rivalry, is they're like, here's a bunch of decks that most people don't play. Figure it out.
What are your favorite public events then? Because obviously you got to play Rivalry Warlords. Is this your one that you gravitate towards?
Yeah, definitely Rivalry, just because it makes you learn how different cards work, and it's fun because you never know what you're gonna get. Second would probably be Winamat, just because the pricing's cool.
That is cool. Are you going to do other public events this weekend? I feel like you're on a roll right now.
Yeah, I didn't have my invite. Everybody else did. And I told them, I'm like, hey, guys, I'm still going to Indy. I'm going to be a side event warrior this weekend and hopefully do good. And I did. So it worked out.
Well, we heard some cheers. Is that who you're here with? Is that the crew?
Yeah, that's everybody from our locals. Other people are probably still off doing lunch or whatever. But yeah, I wanted to shout out Michael Demisa. He is the guy who taught me how to play Centurion. I'm just bad at it, but he is the GOAT. I want to shout out No Limit Gaming and Bellbook. The guy who owns Bell lets us playtest in the annex super late at night. He's like, as long as you turn the lights off, turn the AC off, you guys can stay here as long as you want. So it's our locals is like our whole area is fantastic.
We love a community that comes together like that and helps each other out. You also shouted out your mom, Tracy. Do you have any message for Tracy that then you can send her after this?
It was worth all of the money I spent to come out here, I promise.
Thank you so much, Ariel. That was fantastic. Again, round of applause for Ariel, everybody. Well played, well earned. Let's throw it back to the casters.
All right, thank you, Kangas. That was wonderful to hear. I mean, it just really goes to show you that even if you don't have your invite, it's still worth to go to the NAWCQ. Like, we have almost